Hi everyone, welcome to Cupboard Creations. My name's Gareth, this is my little corner of the internet for playing with my food. Today I'm doing a couple of great Mexican side dishes. These just lift anything Mexican, and you just always think of these two. So you've got guacamole and salsa. Now, I love both. The salsa wise, I'm not going to do your kind of supermarket salsa, where you'll see it's a very sloppy mess. We're doing something called Pico de Gallo, which you'll get most places in Mexico rather than the normal one. And it's a lot more of a crunchy kind of salsa, where it's just little bits of tomato and onion, all in that kind of lime juice sauce that kind of gives it crunch and a bit of acidity. Absolutely fabulous. So we're going to start off with our guacamole. Nice and simple, this one. You need some avocados, definitely. And you need a little bowl to put them in. So we're going to grab our avocados, and we're going to chop these in half. So nice and simply, just slice it through, little crisscross pattern. Then you can either pop it out like I did, or get yourself a spoon. Just grab those in. Okay, so that's our avocado ready. Now, we're going to do a little departure from what you'd normally see. I'm going to use orange in this. It's still citrus fruit, much like your lime, which you traditionally see in this, but I kind of like that slightly different flavour to it. When you're having it with a salsa, which has got plenty of lime in it anyway, this just brings a little balance here, something a little bit different, so the two flavours just pop out. So you're going to need half an orange. We're just going to juice that up and pour it in. Make sure not to get all the pips in. Perfect. So now, give it a mash up, just with a fork. So you can do these in food processors, things like that, but I like a little bit of bite to it, little bits of avocado. I don't want it too mushy. So there we go, that's where we want it to. Still some little lumps in there. But that's perfect. So that's my main mix from the avocado. Effectively, you could call that a guacamole now. But I'm just going to add in a few little bits. Just brings a bit more flavour in there. For this you're going to need pestle and mortar or a little food processor. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put in half a red onion, really finely diced. So that's my onion there. Just going to chuck that into this pestle and mortar. So what we want to do is we want to bruise it. So we want that onion to kind of flow throughout. If you just put them in lumps whole like this, yeah, it's great, you're going to get some little bits. But if you can bash it up a bit, you'll get a bit of juice out of that onion. And that will then feed through, all throughout that guacamole. Get a lot more flavour. So to that, because it helps with the process and it's going to help flavour the guacamole, we're just going to add a good pinch of salt, like so. And for this one, because I love it, I'm going to add in 1 clove of garlic. So again, we're just going to chop that up really fine. Okay, great. That's all in there. And then we're just going to give it a smash up. So there we go. We want to bash it up until you've got almost like a sludge in the bottom. You're still going to have little lumps of onion in there, unless you're absolutely crazy and you manage to bash them all into a paste. But you want a few little bits. But it's that sludge of kind of onion flavour, garlic, that will just go throughout the guacamole. Just give it a really cool flavour. Right, all perfect. So we're just going to slide off of there, and then tip this in and give it a good old mix around. Ooh. Yep, oniony, garlicky, salty, beautiful. Just mix that in. So there we go. Effectively, again, perfectly good guacamole all as it is. But I want to stick one last bit in, and that's some jalapenos. Now I'm going to use these pickled jalapenos because they're much easier for me to get hold of. I can buy a jar of them, using a load of different recipes. So I kind of crack on and keep using these. If you're growing your own, perfect. Or you can pick up some like whole green jalapenos from somewhere. They'll work absolutely beautifully in this. But I kind of like these. I like the little bit of vinegar in there as well. Just adds another little depth of flavour. So you're going to want, well for me, a fair bit. Probably go for about a tablespoon worth once you've chopped them. I'm going to chop them really fine and just mix them through. And then throw them in there. Probably slightly more than a tablespoon. I won't tell if you won't. There we go. Again, little mix. You've got a really nice, exciting, like beautiful guacamole. So now we're going to do is cover that, whack it in the fridge, and it's going to be perfect, ready for when we need it. So I'll crack on with that. I'll come back to you for the salsa. So now we can turn our attention to our Pico de Gallo, our kind of crunchy salsa. So for this, you're going to need 3 tomatoes. Now, some people have a bit of an issue with tomato skin. I know my wife does, so I'm going to take the skins off these. So I'm going to show you a trick on how to do that. If you're all fine with that, just as good diced up as they are. But I'll show you very quickly how you can take the skin off a tomato nice and easy, because you might find it's great in another recipe. So what you have to do is take the non-stem end, as we'll call it, and just make a crisscross pattern through it on each of the tomatoes. Then quite simply whack them for a couple of seconds in some boiling water. Okay, so my pan of water just come up to the boil. Very simply just going to drop these in. Like so. Very floaty, these ones. And then we'll just wait, and it won't take long, let's say a minute max, pretty much, and they'll start to peel back. If you can turn the heat up, and then they'll just come off really easily. So if you can see, that's now done. See, there's a lot of little bits here. You can grab those and peel those back really simply. So we can hoik them out and take them over to the chopping board. Right, so like I said, we can peel these so easily, just comes off. And they're cool enough to handle now. So now, chopping them. Just want to cut them into quarters. We want to get those seeds out from the middle. So I'm just going to slide my knife in, pop out any of those seeds. Because we don't want this to be a wet salsa. We want this to be a kind of crunchy one, really. So we just pop those out. Get rid of the little root bit. Right, so there it is. My nicely chopped down, de-seeded bits of tomato. We're just going to dice these up into little cubes. So, base of the tomatoes is there. Now we're going to add in some red onion. Those two things just go really well together, the sharp red onion, the sweet tomato. We just want a whole sort of small to medium sized red onion in here. We're going to dice that up around about the same sort of size as we've diced up the tomatoes, quite a small dice. Okay, so now that's it. Onions and tomatoes in there. Now some coriander. I want a fair amount of this because I love the flavour. So I'm going to get a good bunch, like so. I'm just going to pick out any like big bits of stalk. I'm not going to go to the realms of trying to take off every leaf, but any big woody bits of stalk we can pop out. Okay, so that's a good handful there, which should be enough for this. You probably want about 2 tablespoons chopped by the end of it. Just going to dice that up really small. There we go. Good 2 tablespoons. Just pop that in there. Now you often use coriander in your guacamole as well. The reason I haven't today is because I tend to have these 2 things at the same time. It's the same reason for using the orange in the guacamole. I want the 2 to taste different. So if I end up with a guacamole that is just full of lime juice and coriander, and a salsa that's just full of lime juice and coriander, there's not a marked difference between those 2. So I like to try and kind of mix them up so we've got 2 distinct flavours. So that's there. One thing we are putting in both is jalapenos. Again, just because I love them. So we're going to grab about the same as we used for our guacamole. Going to put in probably a tablespoon's worth, like so. And just chop them up really fine. Perfect. So the last thing is to get that juice in there. So I'm going to use lime juice for this one. So we can use the juice of 1 lime in here. Just give these a squeeze, get them in there, and that's salsa done. So we go, 1 lot of lime juice, pour that in. So there we have it. Beautiful salsa. A little bit of juice in the bottom, but not too much. Okay, so we can just treat that the same way as the guacamole. We're going to cover it, we're going to whack it in the fridge till we're ready to use it. These 2 sides are just so good. Go with pretty much anything. So tonight I'm having them with a bit of Mexican chicken and some tortillas. Absolutely fantastic. So I hope you give it a go. I hope you enjoy them. If you've got any ideas for your own little takes on it, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.